DDG episode 59. My name is Dave Hunt, and as always, I'm joined by Michael Swick.
How's it going, Dave? Been pretty busy with video games, finally.
Yeah, a little bit. It's a couple 6-day work weeks in a row for me. Get some overtime. Voluntary 6-day work weeks, if you want to call them that. Driving a truck for 10 hours a day.
Voluntary.
It's fine. Retail. I mean, I got some expensive things I had to pay for, so... We are Digital Days Gaming. We are a weekly podcast that releases every Thursday at 6 a.m. Eastern Time on podcast services of your choice. If there's a service that you use and we're not on, please let us know, and we will add us to that list if we are able to. If you can share the show and leave a review, that is super appreciated. You can do so by going to digitaldaysgaming.com and just share the website to somebody on your social feeds, or you can leave us a review or share that you're just listening to the show on your social feeds, and that's a huge way to help the show grow. There are multiple ways that you can support us. The easiest way to support us is on Twitch, twitch.tv/digitaldaysgaming, where we have the ability for you to subscribe to us. Subscriptions are $4.99, and if you have Amazon Prime, you can link that with your Twitch account, and you have something called Twitch Prime, and you will be able to use a sub once a month, and that does not auto-renew, so please go ahead and check if you have that. If you're one of the people that has chosen to support us on Twitch, I would love for you to check if your sub is still active. If it's not, maybe think about considering re-upping it. If it is active, just maybe put a note in your calendar when it won't be active. And then there's a couple other things, PayPal, Patreon, all those links are in the show notes. And our Teesprings account for our Digital Days Gaming merchandise is there as well. And I think the samples came in. I think Michael has his.
I have mine on now, but it's cold, so I'm wearing a sweater over it.
That's why I got a hoodie. So, so I think you got yours before I did, and I got a little concerned because it's going to the post office, and I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah.
But
I was also concerned when I saw post office, but
there's a Teesprings account there. There's hoodies. There's 2 different kinds of hoodies, a couple different kind of t-shirts, different colors. So please go ahead and check those out. That's another way to support us, and maybe somebody will ask you what it is, and you can tell them what it is. All right, so we've got some decent news to talk about as well as an award show to recap. So I'm going to throw it over to Michael.
All right, first bit of news came kind of at a surprise today, but EA has outbid Take-Two for the ownership of Codemasters. So Codemasters was apparently purchased last month by Take-Two for a little under $1 billion, but EA kind of swooped in last second and they put a bid in for $1.2 billion, and it seems like this will go forward, though Take-Two has until Q1 to match or make a better offer, so they can, if they really want Codemasters, they can get it. It's kind of a surprise just because EA already has a couple of studios for racing games and the Need for Speed franchise, but this also kind of makes sense because Codemasters do a lot of simulation racing games, and that's something EA currently doesn't do with their racing games. And most of these games can fit easily under the EA Sports banner once this deal goes through. But me and Dave love talking about money in terms of like studio acquisitions, and a lot of people were surprised at $1.2 billion for Codemasters. Seems like a lot, but this is a developer/publisher.
So again,
several racing franchises.
This is a company that was making, not only developing their own games, like you said, but publishing their own games as well. So that is another caveat. It's similar to the Bethesda ZeniMax acquisition of buying an entire corporation, not just buying a studio. So and as well as the relatively talented one at that. Obviously, almost any game studio is talented, but in terms of what I would classify as a niche studio that's really, really good at one thing. So like that's a huge get in terms of them making their own games as well as distributing their knowledge and their talents throughout EA's other studios is a huge deal. This is also, not to go off on another tangent about something else that we've been talking about for a while, but this is what exactly just happened today is why the Bethesda Microsoft thing is kind of like you hear them kind of talking out of both sides of their mouth at the same time. Because there's always this chance that either a deal could fall through or somebody else could come with more money. Do I think that's going to happen with Bethesda? I think we would have heard if it was already happening and that Microsoft's going to own Bethesda. But in terms of the press tour that they were going on, like, which I thought was weird already, of doing that before like the deal has gone through, this is the scenario of why you can't really do this. Because somebody could go, well, I didn't really know you were available. Well, okay, well, we're available. Okay, well, I'm going to pay this much. Oh.
It's just kind of crazy though, because like Take-Two specifically put out a release statement of like, claiming like, hey, we are putting this money out there. We are going to purchase a studio, and that was a month ago, and everyone decided it was a done deal. So this going in, just for those that don't know the Codemasters name off the top of their head, the IP is a current owner license. They own Dirt, but they have the F1 license. I don't know if they have like exclusive ownership over the F1 racing games. But Grid and Project Cars through Slightly Mad Studios, which is a studio that Codemasters purchased a couple years ago. So
which means now it's owned by EA.
Yes. Which those are three big racing franchises, especially Project Cars. Project Cars kind of came in like the perfect time when the first one came out, between like waiting forever for a Gran Turismo game and the off years of the Forza games, which now Forza seems like they're early in development. It could be a while before we get a Forza game. Gran Turismo, we don't know what's going on with that. So Project Cars for EA would probably be huge for them.
As well as Dirt. Like Dirt's just a good just a good annual franchise. I mean, it's up to like their 5th version of the game with also a few offsets as well, I believe.
Yeah, and it was one of the launch titles for the new consoles, and it looked really good on both of them. So they're getting a good developer. And because it's Codemasters, I think that they will get the Respawn treatment. And what I mean by that is they get to just use their own engine.
Non-frostbite treatment. Non-frostbite treatment.
Yes. which is, the thing that BioWare is still having to shake off, is just like being forced to use that, and what other EA studios have to deal with, and that is you use our Battlefield engine for everything, and that causes all sorts of problems. Look at Madden over the last couple of years, and all the other EA games. So Codemasters, this is definitely an acquisition that you probably just let Codemasters just do their thing. When you're EA, I'm sure EA will find a way to EA the situation and put loot boxes in somewhere, or trading cards in another thing. But for the most part, if you're a Codemasters fan, you probably don't have to worry about this. If anything, it's a stability for them as a publisher developer. And it might be a couple years before we see like the EA fanes, like really sink into Codemasters, because I would assume, because they're a developer publisher, their next 5 years of video games are already probably set in stone. Like
this just
especially
gives them
with
more,
their annual franchise.
This just gives them more payroll though, to hopefully maybe there's a thing that they want to do that now they can do, because maybe they can add more people to the team. Like there's the hopes of stability for the studio. Like stability for a studio and for a corporation is always a big deal. Is stability and EA a word I would use together from a financial standpoint? I would. From a game development standpoint?
No. Which is why I feel like we won't see like the EA effect for at least a couple more years, because everything that everything that Codemasters has been probably working on for the next couple years is already set in stone and in motion. They already had the money for it because they were a publisher and developer.
Yeah, and that's a good point too from Rob 2021 on our Twitch chat. Is he's saying it's just another thing for EA Play or EA Access.
And Game Pass
with EA Access. It's a good thing for EA Access, which is a good deal, and it's also part of Game Pass. So that just broadens the library, and they said that EA Access is coming to Game Pass for PC as well. So as well as, even if you play on PC and you, like I did the Origins Premiere for a little while, which was like $14 a month, this would just be adding to that library of Origins Premiere as well, I would assume. So
still 1.2 billion is a lot of money, and we'll continue to see more and more studios and publishers being purchased as the bidding war continues.
It's funny, we talked about who we thought the next studio was going to be purchased, I think, before this. And I don't think that we even thought that Codemasters would be it didn't come up on our short list, partially because you and I aren't avid driving game, racing game fans, but it's just one of those things where it's like just not on the top of our list in our mind, and then it's a $1 billion studio.
Especially well, a lot of these racing games they tend to have a bigger market in Europe.
Yeah.
And I think Codemasters is like a London-based studio, so this is a thing that like it might not be that big of a radar for a lot of people in North America outside of the diehard racing fans, but this is huge like gain for EA, and hopefully they don't fuck it up like we'll talk about with another studio they own. Okay, so that's it for that news story, and now we'll just talk about the Game Awards. So Jeff Keighley's Game Awards were this past Thursday, I believe.
Yes.
Was it 3 hours long? It was like 3 hours long again.
I actually, with all the teasing and stuff that they were doing, I was looking forward to watching it. And then I forgot that I actually worked on Thursday, and let alone worked on Thursday night. So I was able to at least kind of like peek at my phone and check some stuff on Twitter. And I have not gone back and watched it, partially because I think it is tremendously long. But you're gonna recap it, but there was some cool things, but there wasn't any like mega cool, like wow, like there wasn't any what I consider bombs. So.
Yeah, there was some stuff that felt like it could have been, but because like they didn't have enough to show for some of these things, it just didn't have the same impact. So we'll just talk about the awards a little bit. The big winner was Naughty Dog. Last of Us Part 2 pretty much won in every category it was in. It won Game of the Year against Animal Crossing, Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy VII, Ghost of Tsushima, and Hades. Which me and Dave will pick our winners for this in a couple weeks. But so it won big Game of the Year. It also won Best Direction, which is kind of controversial based on how that whole thing goes. But it also won Best Narrative, Audio Design. Laura Bailey as Abby won for Best Performance, which is a really good pick. I think her top competition was Ellie in that category. There was just a bunch of stuff. Indie game, Hades won. Among Us won a couple awards, beating Call of Duty in some categories. So it was kind of what you expected. Like going into it, I just expected Naughty Dog to just walk away with pretty much everything, with Hades being like a close second just because it's like the indie darling.
Yeah, but to be honest with you, in terms of a heavy hitter game, maybe Ghost was close, but there wasn't, like with that, you look back at a year when we had like God of War versus Spider-Man, you had legitimate conversation. When Halo was good, you'd have a Halo versus Uncharted conversation. And so and then the way that some of these categories are set up, not that they're set up to favor something, but like Hades isn't going to have a best character development. Hades isn't about their character. Like Animal Crossing isn't. Well, I mean, I'll have to play it, but I mean, in terms of like there's who the voice actor is in Hades isn't imperative. In terms of like Logan Cunningham was nominated for Hades, but he also like voiced like 5 characters in that game, so it almost felt like they just picked a random character he played. But in like I like Jin from Ghost of Tsushima, but I also felt like his performance wasn't. What I was more getting at is that Hades, and without playing it, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm sorry, but Hades is about the world that you're in.
No, it's actually about the relationships of the characters.
Okay. But Ghost feels like it was about not necessarily about Jin specifically. It was a kind of learning the samurai like culture.
There definitely is like Jin is a well acted character in the game, but he's not the most likable character in the game or in the overall experience. Yeah.
Abby and Ellie were the focal point.
Yes, they were like
99% of the focal point of that game. Like it, yes. And the world layered in there was another percentage of it that factored into it as much as I'm guessing, again without playing Ghost, is that Jin was maybe 70% of focus of the game.
From what I played, from what I played, like he's your main character, so he's always there, but overall it's more about the world there.
Yeah, and then Animal Crossing's focus is on you as the physical player. Like that's where Animal Crossing's focus is on, is you playing and you building it how you want to build it. and and then the social aspect that has to it versus like a physical. It's not like a physical character presence is not what I would consider in some of the competition that Last of Us had. So like, it doesn't surprise me at all whether you liked Last of Us, didn't like Last of Us, whether you think that they went a good direction, think they didn't go a good direction. And what I consider to be a lighter year for gaming, they were the heavyweight.
Yeah, they carried the conversation long past the release date, or long past the launch of that game.
They've carried the conversation since June.
Yeah. Especially, like, I forgot Final Fantasy VII came out this year, but it's also kind of the way this year is gone is why I kind of forgot Final Fantasy VII, because that was pre-lockdowns. So, like, anything before the lockdown I don't quite remember, which is why, like, The Last of Us has been just sticking around. And
and the cutoffs are weird too, because like Valhalla and Watch Dogs and Cyberpunk like all came out like Valhalla and Watch Dogs were all qualified before the cutoff.
The cutoff,
but
yeah.
In terms of just, like, people are kind of already thinking about Game Awards like as those games are coming out or as they're finishing those games, because they're November games, whether it's Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed, Watch Dogs, any of these other like holiday heavy hitters that come out, that they don't care if they get considered for Game of the Year or not Game of the Year. They're just like, I don't feel like we're at the point, unless Assassin's Creed or Call of Duty goes in a completely different, somehow figures out how to take that annual franchise and go in a completely unique gameplay progression direction, that you're going to ever hear any of those considered for top Game of the Years anymore.
Yeah, they, like, an Assassin's Creed would have to, like, do something batshit crazy to get, well,
and arguably going to the Viking world was kind of that direction, and it still just felt like it still felt like an Assassin's Creed game.
Well, like, that's why I think, like, Origins was like the return of Assassin's Creed, and that one probably had the best shot of any of the games from that franchise. But a lot of people weren't really
finishing that game by the time they're giving awards out because of how big it was.
and the same thing is with Valhalla. It's just like it came out just when these the media were probably submitting their ballots.
It's just kind of like becoming more or less of with Ubisofting their games of an annual franchise. Like, what you're getting with a Watch Dogs game now. If they bring out another Watch Dogs in 2 years and it's Watch Dogs : whatever, you're gonna have a gist of what it is. Last of Us, you had a gist of what it was, but you really didn't, because they told a really cool they told a cool story at the for Last of Us 1, and then they continued that world, but at the same time told a different story.
And they took chances, whether you, like, I know some people are going to hear me say they took chances, but you might not have liked those chances, people out there, but they took a chance with what they did, and that's enough to usually get some sort of honor at a Game of the Year show, because Doom Eternal, I don't think it should have been nominated, because it was just more Doom.
Yep.
And therefore it kind of felt cookie cutter, despite it being like good or bad or whatever.
It just felt like more Doom is Doom. Assassin's Creed is Assassin's Creed. Watch Dogs is Watch Dogs.
If the only thing that I think would have given Last of Us a run for its money would have been like a Hades, just because the indie darlings tend to just pull support out of nowhere, or if Final Fantasy VII Remake released later in the year. Because I feel like if that released in September, it would have been fresh in people's minds.
Yeah, we have 2020 pre-COVID, which technically I would throw Final Fantasy kind of in the pre-COVID thing, even though it kind of came out like right at the start. And then you kind of have like the post, like a Last of Us came out post lockdowns for most of the country was in like a 90-day lockdown kind of.
Remember there was the whole, they delayed it because they didn't know how to release the game during lockdown.
So I mean, I feel like the post Memorial Day life for 2020 is much more in the forefront than prior to Memorial Day, which is usually a common occurrence. But if something is strong enough, like a God of War, it can carry weight for the next 8 or 9 months versus only have to carry weight for 3 to 6 months. So.
Yeah, and I really think Final Fantasy VII, even though it didn't really hit for me, the people that I remember really loved it. And that probably would have stuck around for the conversation for Game of the Year more if it just released. We see this happen a lot.
Yeah, but I don't think that anybody that loved Final Fantasy VII played it for the first time.
No. That's not. That's definitely the case where most people were playing a remake, and it was mostly like, hey, they didn't fuck it up.
Yeah.
Was like most people's response,
And now
it
it's
was
like,
better than
hey,
they thought.
where's the rest of it? Like,
Yeah, which has been really quiet. I was expecting something
yeah,
maybe
I
at the
thought
Game
something.
Awards.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into the real reason people watch the Game Awards, and that's all the reveals, all the trailers. Uh, this was a 3 hour show. There was a ton of stuff. The commercial breaks were also just trailers for games, which was kind of weird because I never knew when I could like walk away from it, which sadly meant when they would announce a category I didn't care for would be the time I'd go to the bathroom or something. Just because trailers are just commercials. So of course the commercial break is just going to be more trailers. So you never know when it's safe to do anything.
Well, plus to be fair, like even at an E3, we missed some cool stuff when they were transitioning us after the Sony press conference.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
So we got a new character coming to Smash.
Yep, Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII fame. He's coming. Looks awesome. I think this is the first time ever. Like most people in the Smash community were pretty positive with the character reveal. Usually, anytime a character is announced for Smash, there's people pissed that it's not Waluigi or some fucking random shit. But Sephiroth works so well. I mean, Cloud's already in the game, so having him pop in there, which now means One Winged Angel will probably pop up in, or his theme song will pop up in the game. Looks really cool. He killed Mario in the trailer, which was a nice visual. They did a little twist. He didn't actually kill Mario, but that visual of Mario being stabbed to death was very shocking. So Sephiroth is coming, and I believe he's coming this month. So very shortly. I would probably say this is one of the biggest reveals. And
It's definitely the thing that carried the most weight on social media.
Yeah. Though I don't think it had as big an impact because they didn't have much to show. But the Initiative revealed what they're finally working on. And for those that don't know, the Initiative is the secret studio that Xbox has been building for, Dave, how many years now has it? Probably like 3 years maybe?
Quite a while, because like
talking about the studio.
Yeah, they've been touting themselves like they've been touting this building, this studio as a 4A studio. Like they
yeah, they keep sniping talent. I believe they've gotten talent from like Naughty Dog. They've gotten some people from EA, like Visceral. I want to say they may have even gotten some like CD Projekt Red people. They've been basically sniping people all over the video game scene to build up this studio. And they are working on a Perfect Dark game. It's touted as like eco sci-fi, and they just had a short CGI trailer, cinematic trailer, that just showed the environments.
A non-gameplay trailer, no gameplay at all.
Yes,
at all.
Yeah, and it kind of makes sense. So it's in early development. They've been building the studio for the last couple years, and building this studio from the ground up. So they've been hiring people one by one. So it makes sense it's in early development. But Perfect Dark, we haven't had a Perfect Dark game since 2005. This is the first-person shooter franchise that Rare made. And this is one of those franchises that people have been wanting Xbox to bring back. So they're finally doing that and bringing it back. And I was hoping for more. I thought there would be a lot more excitement around this, but I think the fact that it was just a cinematic trailer kind of took away from the moment, if that makes sense.
It was early because
people were talking about
the show too. It was very early in the show.
Yeah, it was one of there was like some small trailers between Sephiroth and Perfect Dark, but yeah, this was like the first big hitter, and it took the mind share of that night a little bit, but I feel like the next day no one was really talking about it. And I think that's just the problem with just having a cinematic trailer with nothing to show. And then at least they prefaced it by saying it's in early development, but I hope this isn't one of the scenarios where they announce too early and in 2 or 3 years we're asking, where's that Perfect Dark game? Yeah. Which Xbox and actually not just Xbox, every publisher is like notorious for doing now.
To be fair, I think we saw the first teaser for Cyberpunk in 2013.
Yeah, 2013 is when they got the license. 2014, I think, was the first trailer. So this is just a problem in this industry where they show stuff too early. But I don't know if this is going to be a reboot or a continuation of the story. I have a feeling it's more reboot because the Perfect Dark looked more not post-apocalyptic. This kind of looked like some shit
Mm-hmm.
went down. So we'll see what happens with that. But the initiative they've gotten a lot of really good talent at this new studio. So hopefully it all gels and they can get it going. Uh, and now Xbox has all those other studios that they bought, so they don't have to really rush their
Mm-hmm.
current studios to get something out the door. Um, we got a couple of zombie co-op shooters. The one that I put that the most notable is the new game from Turtle Rock, Back for Blood. This was announced, I want to say 2 years ago as a game.
Is this the
That's
Evolve
coming.
studio?
Yes, this is the Evolve Studio, the studio that made Left 4 Dead.
Terrifies me already.
Left 4 Dead was those were two good games, and Evolve had potential, but that's a whole other thing. Uh,
No, but Evolve's the most
Evolve
recent thing
gameplay
that they
wise,
did.
yeah, Evolve gameplay wise was fine. It's just everything around like the marketing and all that was just a fucking mess. Uh, so this is them just doing what they do well, and it's a 4-player co-op
Yeah, people
zombie
were saying this
shooter.
could have been called Left 4 Dead 3 if they wanted to.
Oh yeah, I mean they're not even trying to pretend that this isn't just a spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead. I mean the logo for the game is just in the same style as the Left 4 Dead games. Um, so they released a cinematic trailer and then they released a gameplay trailer. It seems how they're differentiating then how they're differentiating this game from the Left 4 Dead games is the zombies are bigger. Like like they're going for like you have your regular zombies, you have your medium sized zombies, and then you just have like extra large zombies. So that's how they're differentiating it. And it's coming out June 2021. And there's going to be an alpha or a beta relatively soon. I want to say Jeff Keighley said December, January, around there. So I guess we'll see more of this. Um, any thoughts on this if you saw any of it?
I, it's a first-person zombie shooter horde game, cooperative game. Like this is kind of it has its niche, and I hope that they can figure out something cool to grab the attention for a while.
Bigger zombies. I'm really excited about it because I have I love the Left 4 Dead games. I have a lot of fond memories of playing Left 4 Dead LAN at a PC cafe. So I'm excited for this. I just want a good one. I mean, World War Z was pretty good, surprisingly. Uh, like I know that wasn't them, but like I didn't
Yeah,
think I
yeah.
wanted like a zombie co-op game anymore. And World War Z was like, oh, this was fun. If only it was better, this would be great. So there's hope that like the people that made Left 4 Dead can continue to do good work and like reiterate on like the concept that they made famous.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I'm happy that they're going back to what they're probably passionate about or built the foundation of their studio on, and I hope they hit it. So
yep. The next one is the Callisto Protocol, I believe is what it was called.
that sounds right.
And this is the left or nope, sorry. This is the creator of Dead Space. Um, and it basically looks like Dead Space. Like right down to in Dead Space, you had like your spine had like LED lights that would display your health,
Hmm.
and then this character had just something on the back of his neck that was an LED that I would assume will probably display your health or
Hmm.
something with the character when you're playing.
Yeah, people were definitely like loving the concept of a continuation of even the Dead Space universe, which is kind of what, like, I'm sure that there won't be really any direct ties to this, but this is the guy that you know built the Dead Space
Created, yeah,
franchise. Yeah. So
yeah, yeah. EA probably won't let this have anything to do with that space, but spiritual successors have
they can't.
worked
Yeah,
well enough.
they can't stop them from people going. Like looking at little Easter egg references or story references or even name references. Like, you know.
Yeah. Um, so we earlier we talked to, or I mentioned that there was like 3 zombie co-op shooter games, and there was also a plethora of road trip games, and the one that got my attention was Open Roads, and it's the Fulbright development team, the people that made Gone Home, and Annapurna Interactive, who have become like the classy indie publisher, like the prestige indie publisher. And they're working together on a open world, or not open world, like a road trip narrative driven game between a that centers around like a mother-daughter combo. This looked cool. This is definitely the only reason I mention it. This looks like a game that I would very much enjoy. And of the road trip games they showed, this one looked the most interesting to me.
Is this the guy that made A Way Out?
No. You're thinking of It Takes Two.
Okay.
That was A Way Out. This is just Fulbright. This is the people that made Gone Home.
Was It Takes Two shown at the Game Awards?
Yes, it was shown later,
Okay.
which if I put it in the notes or I didn't, just because that guy annoys me.
Yeah,
he just looks like the most. He just looks like the most annoying artsy dude. All right. I put this one in just because it baffled me. It confused me. I was disgusted by the trailer, confused by the trailer, but I couldn't look away. Vin Diesel is in Arc 2. I don't know, Dave, if you saw this trailer.
I did not, but I heard like the photoshopping was kind of weird.
It was Vin Diesel's face, a realistic Vin Diesel face, but clearly not his body or something modeled after his body. Maybe what he thinks his body. It looks like they put Vin Diesel's face on The Rock's body. And it was just him and his family fighting dinosaurs. And it was very confusing because you didn't know it was an Ark game until the very end. But the frame rate was just a little weird. The blood looks like really thick. That made it almost like stop motion. There's a lot of weird visual things going on with this trailer, and I couldn't get over the Vin Diesel effect going on in this trailer. It just looks super bizarre. But apparently Vin Diesel is like producing Arc 2. He's also going to produce the anime for Arc that's coming out, and this is one of those scenes where did I miss Arc being a really popular franchise?
I mean, Ark's carried some. I've seen it do well. Like it seems to do really well, like on Twitch. So I definitely think it has some. It has an audience. Is that audience is that audience going to grow or change with Vin Diesel as being marketed in the game? I don't think so. If you like Ark, you like Ark. I am a little worried in terms of I don't have enough like data or research to back this up, but Vin Diesel appears, in my opinion, to be a much better actor in doing what he's told versus being a director and a producer.
Yeah, he's been trying to get into video games for so long. He's had several games where he stars in.
He's got
the Riddick games.
Dark
are the
mind, dude. He's got a dark mind. So,
like, there's like a good Riddick game, and then he's just had his bad like GTA clones. Maybe this will work out for him. I don't really care about the Ark games. They never did anything for me. But Vin Diesel in it, and it just looks so weird. Maybe a morbid curiosity. I'll watch or play this game. I doubt it though. It was just bizarre. It was like one of the most baffling trailers that were at the show. Quick ones. There's an Evil Dead game coming out, which was, I thought it was this more Dead by Daylight DLC, but it turns out no, this is just an Evil Dead game with Bruce Campbell and other characters that are from that franchise, I'm guessing. Have no idea what this is going to be, really. It almost looks like you're defending the cabin from Evil Dead, but I don't know any sense of scale for what type of game this is, because I really just thought it was Dead by Daylight DLC, which I think Dead by Daylight has done DLC for Evil Dead, so it was even more baffling. I don't even know what studio's making this game, but they got the original voice actor, or they have the original actor, Bruce Campbell, to do this. It could be cool if it's cheesy and campy. I hope it's going for a smaller experience as opposed to trying to do like a full $60 game, because I don't think that will work for Evil Dead. But there could be something here potentially. Dave, you're not really a scary movie fan, so
I don't care.
You've never seen Evil Dead?
No.
Okay, but you probably have seen Bruce Campbell.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Hey,
just for some reason when you started talking about it, I just want to ask this question because I don't know the answer to it. Is Dying Light 2 out?
What is?
No.
Dying. No, that got delayed.
Yeah, I don't know why that just
that
got
delayed.
Yeah, I know, but that got delayed. I remember that being delayed like a long time ago. I thought it'd be out by now.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure that never came out. I had to Google it real quick. Yeah, no, that got delayed again, and I think it just got delayed TBA. They didn't even put like an actual window on that one.
You got to play that at E3 2019 and 18.
I think I got hands on 1 year, and then the last 2 years have been hands off.
Yeah, I don't know why that just popped in my head. Sorry.
I said Dead by Daylight too long.
Oh, see, my wife gave me a reference to who Bruce Campbell is. I know who that is now.
Yeah, Burn Notice. I said Burn Notice.
I didn't hear you say that. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Returnal, which is the Housemarque game, I believe. That had a trailer. The only reason I mention it, the game looks kind of whatever. Like, nothing really stuck out to me in gameplay-wise from that trailer. It comes out March 19th. It trolled PT fans because it opened with just a door in a very small hallway being opened. They opened it, and then it was just Returnal. And then it ended the trailer with that as well.
Congratulate Sony on their second PS5 only game.
Yes. But why in the hell did they have to like invoke the vibes of PT is what I'm confused about. Like, people were so upset. Like, I wasn't watching Game Awards live because I was at work, but on the way home, I saw PT trending and people freaking out. And then 10 seconds later, people being like, what the fuck? Why is it Returnal? Why did they troll people?
Sorry,
no idea.
I think it's their third if you count Godfall, Demon Souls, and Returnal.
Yes. If you want to count Godfall, which no one wants to count Godfall. I'm still waiting for Godfall to hit like the clearance bins and be the first PS5.
Yeah, at this point, I mean, we are a month out, and it's like, okay, like you're not doing anything, even as a new console system thing only.
It's one of those games where it's just like that's gonna hit the bins eventually. It's gonna be the first like on sale PS5 game like they hit the $20 bins, but it hasn't done it yet. But yeah, Returnal looks okay. I trust Housemarque gameplay wise, but this is their first non-arcadey game, so I'm a little worried to see how that goes, or more curious than worried. And then let's just talk about it. We talked about it last week. BioWare. They promised Dragon Age, a new trailer for Dragon Age 4. They delivered a new trailer for Dragon Age 4. No gameplay. It was just basically just them introducing Dragon Age 4 for the third time. The second time at the Game Awards, third time overall at a event. What I was able to pick up from the trailer is the narrator, who is named Varric in the previous 2 games. He will be a potential party member because he says he'll join you. They show some characters that were featured on some short stories on the Dragon Age website. And then Solus pops up at the end, and I'm assuming he is just going to be the big bad. I know Dave knows no idea who these people are, but...
Nope. But you know what? This franchise has enough weight to it that I understand it, and I respect it for what it is, and it can stay on the shelf over there, and you can be excited about it and disappointed at the same time.
I'm just trying to get.
You got nothing from this trailer.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they're going to be into Winter, but that was kind of already guessed. I'm just doing this for street cred.
Grasping at straws, buddy.
Yeah. No, I mean, honestly, my favorite part of this trailer was immediately going to Twitter and YouTube to look at the people breaking this down.
Yep.
Just because the most small details getting blown up makes me at least a little hopeful for this franchise
No,
that
I
there's
get
someone
it.
who's
Like,
putting a trailer together.
That happens with Destiny when they show a trailer for like an expansion or a new or a new season, and they zoom in on the upper left shoulder of a player and going, "What gun is he carrying on his back?" And I'm like, "Come on."
Yeah, this happens with this, but the only thing that makes me feel a little better about a trailer like this is someone putting that trailer together has to care enough to put this trailer together and leave little Easter eggs for people.
Yeah.
So seeing like the community break that stuff down, even though it is literally grasping at straws in some scenarios, but that at least shows
This
I'm
tree
sure
has this kind of bark on it, so the story's going to take place here.
That's literally what happened when they did the concept art. There was a tree that people were like, "I know where that tree is going to be located."
We heard Bethesda come out and say that they didn't want to show anything for Elder Scrolls 6 because if they felt if they showed anything or they showed like even a high view of the map, people would be like, "I know where it is."
Yeah, and that totally happened, and now they're locked into wherever those mountains are for Elder Scrolls.
Yeah.
So they showed this. I was just disappointed. No gameplay. This is basically them just saying like, "Hey, Dragon Age exists for the third time." This coming after the two people departed. BioWare is, like, come on. This is the whole reason to do the trailer for this after two people leave is to be like, this is all right. This is gonna.
Here we go. Over under May 2022 release date.
I would say you're right on target.
So push.
I would say yeah. Spring 2022 would be the earliest we get this. Just because they would have shown something, unless they do a big blowout at EA Play in June. So they kept their promise. They showed something of Dragon Age, even though it was just a teaser with a narration over it. But then at the end of the Game Awards, BioWare released another trailer. And it was to tell you the Mass Effect series will return or will continue. And it was a trailer for Mass Effect. What Mass Effect universe they're going in looks like the original trilogy. Like they're going to continue from there based on some of the characters that were, or the narrator in that trailer. Or I'm forgetting exactly how that trailer went, but it sounds like they're continuing the regular trilogy, not the canceled Andromeda trilogy, though I guess they could still work with that potential trilogy if they wanted to. But my question is, Dave, why? Like, BioWare, as far as I know, is on fire because they're rebuilding Anthem.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, but they still haven't said they aren't. Dragon Age has been rebooted a couple times internally. This has some departures. Why announce a Mass Effect game right now? The Legendary Edition's coming out in March or whatever.
Because their corporation just spent $1.2 billion.
I guess, like I know Mass Effect fans are super happy, but
so here we go.
Like we talked about earlier.
Same thing. Holiday 2023, over under.
I don't know. That depends on if they cancel Anthem next. Like,
come on,
whenever Anthem next comes out.
Holiday 2023 for Mass Effect, whatever.
I would say over. I would say spring.
Okay.
2024, I guess.
So we were talking about potentially, and I don't have the number in front of me, but potentially a 6 or 7 year gap between Andromeda and this next one?
Well, based on how Andromeda went, Andromeda never existed. And it's actually a 10-year gap or whatever by the time that comes out between 3 and this one. I just don't know. Wouldn't it have been cooler if you put this trailer at the end of the Mass Effect trilogy, you roll credits on 3, they don't tell anyone it's happening.
Yeah. Some special post-credit cutscene. Yeah.
Yes. Do the Kingdom Hearts shit that they used to do on a PS2 and drop a trailer that absolutely has no meaning just to get the fan base going. Why? I feel like this was just done because EA wants to show that BioWare is not dead after the departures and the Anthem stuff, that they're like, no, they're fully functional. Look, we got like 2.5 games.
It's definitely weird when you think about if you look at in comparison, like you had mentioned earlier in the show, like a studio like Respawn was able to work on Jedi Fallen Order and Apex Legends essentially simultaneously.
Yeah.
And now it's been over a year since Jedi Fallen Order came out. Apex is continuing on its train of doing stuff every 90 days. And, we're talking late 2023, 2024 for the next BioWare game. But if EA is pushing that, or if BioWare is pushing that, why don't we know what Respawn's working on then?
Yeah, like we only can just assume that they're working on
a continuation of the Fallen Order world. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, and they already said they gave Apex to another studio, like one of their Canadian studios. So yeah, we just assume they're doing more Star Wars.
But I'm saying if we're finding out about two things that BioWare is working on that probably won't be ready for minimum of 24 months from now.
Yeah.
But we don't know what Respawn is working on after 14, 15 months post-launch.
The only thing I can think of is Respawn has more power. They have leaders at their studio that actually
So Respawn has more power than BioWare?
Yes. So BioWare used to be run by two people. They've been gone for several years. The person that was following up just left a week ago. BioWare is just a name, and people work for that name. It's not like Respawn, where the people at Respawn know they answer to Vince Zampella. Vince Zampella does answer to Andrew Wilson, but they know that there's someone in between them and EA.
That's a good point.
So they can do what they want as long as Vince Zampella is there. As soon as Vince Zampella is gone, then
which they already got splitting his time already.
Yeah, with
Dice.
What is it? Yeah, Dice LA, I believe. Yeah, so.
Which, by the way, we don't really know what they're working on either.
No, other than a shooter.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I guess all Respawn's working on is the Medal of Honor VR game that I think is out very soon. That's like 300 gigs.
There's no
on
way
PC.
that's all that they're working on, but that's all we know of. So.
Yeah, that, and it's done. You know, it's coming out very soon. So there's gonna be something they're working on.
Right.
But yeah, that was the Game Awards. Overall, pretty good show. Doesn't need to be 3 hours. It doesn't need to be 3 hours, but it was a pretty good show. Anything pop up from the trailers? I know you didn't watch exactly, but you saw some of the trailers.
Yeah, I mean, I still kind of want, like, in terms of, like, I asked about it, like, I think Angela and I need to play A Way Out, and then I hope that, she enjoys that kind of concept, and then we can play the new game from him that's coming out soon. I think it's fascinating that he's still doing the same thing of where, like, if I own it, you can play with me from your house without owning it. I think that's always an interesting concept, like almost like a trial demo thing.
Yeah, and it's from EA too, so it's like a good consumer-friendly thing from EA. I just don't know.
I don't care about the guy. I just his gaming concept fascinates me, and I just haven't taken the time to play it. Yeah,
I remember people loved Brothers, which is the first. You control each character on each.
But that was a single player thing. So.
Yeah, A Way Out. There was hype behind it, but it didn't do well, just critically and commercially. I don't think. I just want to know what EA gets from this relationship. I guess maybe it was a 2 or 3 game deal. So like, if this game's successful. It doesn't star the Olsen twins, which is just like, why are you going to use that name? And it doesn't star the Olsen twins. But like, I just want to know, like, I don't know. I don't get the hype behind this guy, and A Way Out didn't do anything for me.
I mean, it made me like during like scrolling through social media during the Game Awards, it made me want to go like, hey, I don't really know enough about this Perfect Dark franchise. And that's because I've been a PlayStation guy and a Nintendo guy, so.
It was a Nintendo 64 franchise.
Yeah, but I must have missed
it.
But
you weren't a 64 guy, yeah. I don't know. There was no Elden Ring, which I'm not surprised about. But overall, it was a good show.
I thought we'd at least get a date for something. Like, I don't even know what it would have been, but something saying, hey, this is coming out in February. This is coming out, get it. Like, I'm surprised we didn't have the...
Returnal was the only one that gave a release date.
Yeah, I'm surprised we didn't even have a available tomorrow. Like those are the kind of things that usually kind of carry some weight. And like the It Takes Two thing would have been a great thing for them to say, hey, play it next week.
Yeah, that probably would have helped that game
Right.
like a lot. I probably would have tried it because I desperately need video games right now. But yeah, pretty good show. Let's get that took a big chunk of our time,
Yeah.
but let's do this last news story before I go into rant mode and we do
So we're gonna
watching.
talk about this news story, and then Michael is also going to. This is on CD Project Red and Cyberpunk, and Michael's gonna kind of like weave it into like what he's been playing, because that's pretty much what he's been playing all the last week. So.
Yep. All right. So Cyberpunk 2077 came out last week. We didn't get a review copy though. But I ended up purchasing it on the PS4, which was a mistake. Yeah, it was such a mistake. So Cyberpunk 2077, it is. What's a nice way of saying a trash fire?
I think you wrote it well in your notes. Cyberpunk 2077 runs like trash on last gen and consoles in general.
Yeah, okay, so Cyberpunk 2077 on the PS4 and Xbox One specifically, last gen, it runs like shit. We're talking about, if you look at the Digital Foundry videos, I tested it myself by playing it, anywhere from 12 frames per second to 30 frames per second on the old consoles. I have the PS4, PS4 Pro, and the PS5. I've been playing on the PS5, but it's just the PS4 version. But I did load it into my PS4 just for shits and giggles, just because I heard of how bad it was. And it really runs at like...
Because it's supposed to run... It sounds like it's running roughly around 60 frames on PS5.
Yes, it runs mostly consistent on PS5 at 60 frames, but there's all sorts of other issues. And then last gen is locked at 30 frames, or capped at 30 frames, not locked, because God, I wish it was locked at 30 on those previous gens. But so it runs terrible on the PS4 and Xbox One. And so much so that CD Projekt Red had to put out a statement that apologized for this. Here's their statement, which starts off with, "Dear gamers," classic. First of all, we would like to start by apologizing to you for not showing the game on base last-gen consoles before it premiered, and in consequence, not allowing you to make a more informed decision about your purchase.
Because they knew it was trash.
Paid more attention. Yep. We should have made... I talked about it when they released that trailer like 2 weeks ago, of just like, there's a very purposely done trailer. We should have paid more attention to making it play better on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Second, we will fix bugs and crashes and improve the overall experience. The first round of updates has just been released, and the next one is coming in the next 7 days. Expect more, as we will update frequently whenever new improvements are ready. After the holidays, we will continue working. We'll release 2 large patches, patch number 1 in January, followed by patch number 2 in February. Together, these should fix the most prominent problems gamers are facing on last-gen consoles. We will be informing you about the contents of each patch ahead of their release. This won't make the game on last-gen look like it's running on a high-end spec PC or next-gen console, but it will be closer to the experience than it is now. Finally, we would always like everyone who buys our game to be satisfied with the purchase. We appreciate it if you would give us a chance. But if you are not pleased with the game on your console and don't want to wait for updates, you can opt to refund your copy. For copies purchased digitally, please use the refund system in PSN or Xbox, respectively. For box versions, please first try to get a refund at the store where you bought the game. You can't do that in America. Should this not be possible, please contact us at helprefund@cdprojectred.com, and we will do our best to help you. Starting today, you can contact us for up to a week until December 21st when they leave the office. So, the game is broken on the old consoles. It runs at a horrible frame rate. It has super game-breaking bugs. We're talking about T-posing characters, NPCs just not showing up, horrible pop-in, bad shadows, bad lighting, just everything you can think of that's a problem is a problem on the last-gen consoles. This is basically CD Projekt Red destroying a lot of their credibility that they've built up, all the goodwill they built up of being a very consumer-friendly company was basically
they 100%
tarnished.
did this to themselves in the last 9 months. Like this is they have nobody to point the finger at but themselves. They purposely hid the console version from reviewers. They purposely hid the console versions from trailers and gameplay reveals. They delayed the game, and they came out and said that they weren't going to delay the game, and then they said they weren't going to have crunch, and then they had crunch, and now they're talking about it within the first quarter, the first 90 days of the game being out, releasing 4 patches. On average, these patches are 20 gigs apiece. The game isn't even 100 gig. Or it's it's a little over 100 gig, and you're going to almost essentially... It was
70 before the first 2 patches.
Right, you're going to essentially repatch your entire game in the first 90 days. It is coming down to, unless you have a 300 series RTX, you can't play this game well.
Yeah, it's the only place you can play this right now is PC. PC still has bugs though. Like PC players are still dealing with.
Like I am considering purchasing a Stadia because I think that might be the best place for me to be able to experience this game in the current situation of the 5 or 6 consoles I have in my house. Console and PC that I have in my house, that I need to go into a separate platform because I don't think my PC now would probably run it worse than my PS5.
Yeah, potentially, and it'll have its own set of bugs because the PC version isn't flawless.
And Stadia's offering to let me buy the game, and they'll send me a whole Founders Kit.
Yeah, which isn't too bad. So this is just... so a lot of defenders for CD Projekt Red said, were saying, oh, you can't expect this game to run on the old consoles. But here's the problem with that. This game was announced in 2014, 2013, somewhere around there, and was always said it was coming to these consoles. At any point, CD Projekt Red could have pulled the plug on those consoles and been like, hey, sorry guys, our game can't run on that. But instead, they just kept saying it was coming to these consoles and then never showed it. And
because that would have destroyed their pre-order numbers that they have sold 8 million copies of this game within 10 days.
Yeah. And apparently the game already has made back all the development costs. So 6 years of development costs.
You can't sell that many games if you're putting it on a system, 2 systems combined that probably, like based on alleged NPD numbers for the month of November, if you combine the Xbox Series and the PS5 numbers, maybe you're at 2.5 mil. Maybe.
Yeah. There's other things that they had to deal with. There's a mechanic in the game that triggers epileptic seizures that they didn't put a proper warning for. They've toned that down since then and said they'll put a better warning in a future patch. Their whole social media game has been kind of real bad with this, very like edgelord type humor, and that's kind of in the writing of this game. So there's a lot of problems with Cyberpunk 2077. With that said, I still picked it up on PS5 even after the reviews hit. Or not PS5. I picked it up on PS4, and I'm playing on PS5. On PS5, I do get 60 frames per second, or close to or consistent 60 frames per second. But the game still has a ton of issues because I'm running the PS4 version of the game. The only benefit I'm getting for playing it on PS5 is the performance with the frame rate.
And when are you going to get to play the PS5 next-gen upgrade version of that game?
We don't know. We have no idea when that's coming, which is a shame. Oh, just before I get into that, apparently no one told PSN customer support or Xbox Live customer support this was happening because Twitter is just filled with people that are being denied their refunds. And then CD Projekt Red said, return your copy to the retail store. I don't know how it is in other countries, but once you open the shrink wrap on a game in the United States, you cannot get a refund. You can only get the same game back. You can't even get store credit. So you can tell this was thrown together. Mm-hmm. But let's talk about about Cyberpunk. I'm playing it. I've played 7 or 8 hours of it. I don't even know where to start. Okay, so let's just talk about the mess, the glitchiness. So currently right now, I'm having issues with the game, all the bugs, where I'm seeing some NPCs T-pose. I'm seeing some textures not pop up on NPCs. I'm talking about you'll see an NPC and it'll take a couple seconds for the face textures to pop on those characters, so they just look like blurry messes. I'm getting floating items. I'm getting a lot of light flickering. Like the shadows and the lighting just aren't working, so parts of my screen are just flickering all sorts of different colors. which is super frustrating and it's kind of disorienting. Um, I'm getting issues where cars are just kind of like popping up from the ground. Nothing game breaking so far, but just a lot of little technical things that just kind of build up and become a problem. The current thing I hate is driving in the game. Uh, if I look at the shadows far away, it's all rendering as I'm driving because there's like, I guess the game isn't capable of like popping textures consistently all in one. So as I'm driving, shadows and lights and textures are popping in probably like 20 yards in front of me, and it's giving me headaches anytime I drive. And it's like daytime and I'm going into like a tunnel, and then the light switches over. So there's a ton of issues. I still see dips in frame rates when I'm driving. If I drive too fast, the frame rate will dip a little bit. Not crazy like on the PS4, but just I'm seeing frame rates drop. So I kind of had to stop today because I was getting a headache because I was driving around a lot in the game and I just couldn't deal with like the weird texture stuff. And then I had a couple NPCs just kind of break on me, and it's just been kind of buggy and disappointing. But the game is still interesting to me. It's still fascinating, the world they built, because they did build, when the game is working, a beautiful looking game. Like there's some parts, if I just stand still and I don't move too much and the game finishes popping in and renders, it is gorgeous. But if I move around too much, then it becomes problematic. The story this early on is still pretty vague on what I'm supposed to do. I do like the customization options for the characters, though I feel like they don't go far enough with some of the customizations. Yeah, there's the jokes of like, yeah, you can customize you can pick which type of dick you want. But
you only have like 4 facial features to choose from or something?
So here's my problem. So like, okay, there's 2 dicks to choose.
Chandler tweet something about this.
Yeah, you can choose between 2 dicks, cut and uncut. There's only 1 vagina option, which is weird that there's like 2 dick options, 1 vagina option. But that's whatever. There's like 5 pubic hair options, but then when you like go to like the tattoo options, there's like 4 cutouts or 4 like full body tattoos, but no individual tattoos. You have like 10 different hair color options, but then for like your character's makeup, there's only like 5 color options, to where there's just like so many like imbalances with the character customization thing of just like, okay, you went a little too detailed here, because why? But then you didn't go detailed enough for this option here. And there's this weird things that they just didn't go full on with the character customization, like they were kind of touting. Like they got so caught up in the genitalia that they just like hype that up, and you're thinking you're going to be able to just build whatever type of character you want. In reality, it's like, oh, here's a dozen options and combinations, which is a little disappointing. But either way, made a cool character. Though it's first person, so I like it almost didn't matter, because it's like I rarely see my character unless I look in the mirror. Which when you look in the mirror, you can see your character and you can change the facial option, but the facial animations aren't that great. So it's like, this is your character smiling, this is your character angry, this is your character happy, and it's just like they all look the same, like they're barely changing. The world of CD Projekt, or God damn it, the world of Cyberpunk, it's pretty cool. In terms of like the visuals of it, but the problem I'm having right now is like, I feel like the writing is kind of letting me down in the story early on. Just the writing just seems clumsy, and maybe could have used some touching up, or at least like some more advisors for it, because it doesn't feel like the people speak naturally, or it's one of those things I feel like it's like Polish writers writing a game that's supposed to, they're trying to do like American dialogue, but they're also trying to do American future dialogue, and it just comes across as clumsy, where it's just like, no human would talk like this. I don't care if it's the future, like the the way the people talk to each other just doesn't make sense to me, or it just doesn't sound natural. And then like all the neon color stuff, very pretty. But like the world is filled with like advertisements and like this edgelord humor that kind of doesn't work for me because it almost comes across as idiocracy. And I don't know if they were trying for idiocracy. I was expecting more dystopian future stuff, and instead you have just like a lot of porn ads and a lot of weird stuff that just comes across as juvenile and childish, as opposed to being like edgy or trying to say something. Which I don't know if that's just me just expecting like more mature like writing or like more of a like they were like a message that they were trying to convey or like a commentary that they were trying to make on like society and like where it's heading, but instead the like all the contextual stuff around the world this kind of makes me laugh, but not in a good way. That this comes across as just like, oh, okay, that's just another childish porn ad on the thing to being like, oh, this is where we think sexuality is going in the future, but instead it's just like what a teenager thinks is cool and funny and what's sexy, and it just doesn't work for me. And it's like I'm laughing for all the wrong reasons, or that was their intent and they were leaning more towards parody. I don't know, but that's definitely something they're not going to be able to fix with a patch, and it's something I'm going to have to look over. But early on in the game, you're basically a mercenary. You're just doing jobs for all the people, doing the open world stuff. Most of your missions come through phone calls, which is kind of a bummer because they just start. Your phone is constantly ringing when you're playing, and they're just giving you missions left and right. And you're in the middle of a mission, and someone calls you on a phone to give you 2 more missions, and you're just kind of like overwhelmed right away.
Do you have
So
to
it takes a
accept
while.
them?
Yeah, I mean, you click like left on the D-pad or right on the D-pad, and it just sends like a text message reply, and it just puts it in your side quest like
Okay.
log.
Okay.
So like during a mission, I think I got like 3 phone calls, and then once I finished it, I looked into the journal, and I just see like 5 or 6 things that's waiting for me to do, and I'm just like, shit, I wasn't paying attention to the stupid phone call because I was in the middle of a mission. So now I don't know exactly the context for the side mission outside of like a little paragraph. So there's some clumsiness there, but I'm going to continue playing it, or at least I think I'm going to continue playing it. Depends on how frequently they get these patches. I feel like I'm trying to enjoy the game. I'm having some fun, just kind of exploring, laughing when I'm probably not supposed to be laughing, and doing like just the basic missions, which have all just been kind of like go here, hack this, kill this person, but it hasn't really caught my attention enough, probably because of the bugs, which at this point I might either pick this game up on PC to get away with some of get as far away from some of the bugs as possible, or I might just put this game on the shelf and think I'm just going to have a better experience and I might be more accepting of the world if it wasn't breaking that often. A couple of my friends have had the system crash multiple times while playing this game. I haven't had a system crash, but I know the first time the system crashes on me, I'm going to be pissed. So at this point, I might just want to put this game on a shelf for a couple months and hope they release the official PS5 version on it.
It just sucks that they're you walk into a store and there's PS4 and Xbox One box art for this game, and you get it home and you put it in, and it just runs like trash. People have been waiting for this game for a long time. This is like
They've been waiting.
People were anointing this
excited.
as possible game of the year contender, like before it was even out, which was kind of scary. I've had my reservations personally about the game. Just from it not being the CD Projekt Red doesn't produce types of games that hook me, or you have hooked me before or yet. And then they have never done a first person, or it's been a long time since they did a first person. And it doesn't sound like this is first person Witcher.
No, so like
it sounds like talking to a couple people. It's Fallout.
Yes. So thing that me and you've been talking about for years is the shooting doesn't look right. The shooting is Fallout at best, and it's one of those things. And Fallout at best is not a compliment, anyone. It's it's serviceable. You can get through your missions with the shooting. It's one of those things where I immediately had to go into settings and fuck with the sensitivity and change things around so it can feel okay. I have all the faith in the world that CD Projekt Red will patch this game to hell and will make it a better game, and it'll probably fix the shooting. Witcher, when it launched, had okay combat, and then it got decent combat eventually. They patched it to where combat got better over time.
Yeah, but this is a game that's been delayed 3 times.
No, I know. I'm not like making excuses for them. I'm just saying I have faith that it'll get there. It's just so sad it has to get there. This game should have been delayed not permanently, for another 6 months or another year to get this going, or they should have canceled last gen. Because based on how last gen's running, they released this game last week thinking it was acceptable on the PS4 and Xbox, which means this last
they released it hoping it was acceptable. I don't think they thought it was acceptable.
The idea that they released it after delaying it so many times, and they were like, we'll release it at this state, means so much of their development time was probably going just to get these consoles, to get this version of the game to this point.
But I also feel like they could have came out and said, hey, in order for us to deliver the best possible Cyberpunk experience for your players, we're only going to be able to release it on PS5, Xbox Series, and PC.
And they should have done that. In CD Projekt Red, I felt like was a company that would have been able to make that tough call, but it turns out, no, they can't. It's just a shame how this is turning out. And we'll see if I'm talking about this game next week, or if next week I'm just saying I'm not going to play it because I want to have a good experience with this game. I bought it on PC, or I'm waiting for the PS5 version, but I don't want to give them more money at this point. I already gave them money for the PS5 version, or for the PS4 version that's trash. I can't return it because that's just not how it works here. So I don't want to then give them another $60 just so I can see if the game runs, play the game that I already paid money for. I'm not going to spend $120 on a game that so far in the first 7 hours, I'm like, even if this was working, the story's not really hitting for me, and the shooting mechanics aren't that great.
Yeah.
So it's just a shame. I was excited for this game, but after I saw the trailer they put out 2 weeks ago for the PS4 version, where it was they only did dialogue options in that trailer on the PS4, and then the PS5 version they showed a car chase that the game could run. But man, super disappointing. The game gave me a headache today. I was 20 minutes late recording this just because I've had a headache the last 2 hours because I played it earlier.
Yeah. I want to enjoy it. They gotta move fast, and I'm all for it, and I appreciate the transparency that they're trying to show. But at the same time saying, get your stuff into us before December 21st, before we go on our break. It's like, hey, we produced our game and we're taking our month off or whatever.
Yeah, and
just looks bad.
The thing is, especially people are praising their transparency now, but this where was it 2 weeks ago? When they put out a deceptive trailer of the game.
For any developer to release a statement that says seek possible refunds if you're not satisfied, that's gutsy. And to put their own help forum up there, in terms of directing people to it, that's gutsy as well too. But then to just say, we're available until this day, and then we're gonna be off. If you're really truly that consumer friendly, you need to talk to your staff about somebody at least monitoring that box, whether it's from home or while you're taking your 19 days off of work. So
yeah, pay someone time and a half or whatever every day after the 21st to run the.
Because if I submit a refund request on December 20th and I don't hear from you until January 10th, that's not acceptable.
Yeah. It's so bad that CD Projekt Red had to release a statement to their workers saying hey, Metacritic's not going to affect our bonuses anymore, because they knew they were going to get chewed up on Metacritic after they released it on consoles. So I don't know. This is a mess. I'm disappointed. It's broken. I know some people are able to overlook some of the bugs. I usually can overlook the bugs if they're laughable, if they're fun. See, the people that have the bugs where all the little trees are popping up all over their game, I would love that bug right now. If my game was just filled with little trees because the backgrounds are all messed up, I would be happy. But instead, I'm getting lights flickering constantly, and I haven't even done the brain dance, the thing that causes seizures. I'm afraid to click that or go into the brain dance, like
PS5 might blow up.
I've done one brain dance and it was fine, and because you have to do it early on,
It
but
just
like
sucks.
I'm
I mean,
afraid
like,
to go back into them.
This was like one of the touted games that if you saw on social media, like, what are you looking forward to playing in 2020? And this was there. Like, this was par for par with Last of Us Part 2. People didn't know enough about Ghost of Tsushima. Like, this was on par of like, this is what I was looking forward to playing in 2019, and now what I'm looking forward to playing in 2020. And now I got it in 2020, and I probably should have waited till 2021.
Isn't it amazing, though, that this game was delayed 3 times this year? This game was supposed to release in like March, and then it was delayed to April. What the fuck was this game going to look like in March or April? Is what I want to know. Because again, the PC version is the best version right now, but it's not without bugs. Mm-hmm. Like, it still has issues. So, like, what the fuck was this game supposed to be in March or April?
The game is
in
the game is in such shape that it's almost making Stadia a viable platform for it.
As far as you know, like, we probably need to look to see. Like,
no, the Kotaku wrote an article about it.
Oh, okay. So
Kotaku wrote an article that said Cyberpunk actually runs well on Stadia. That was the headline.
That might be the play that I have to make if I want to get it, because I want to get a Stadia or the new Chromecast. That might be the option. But this is such a disappointment, and I love CD Projekt Red. I was going in hyped but precautious because of the shooting mechanics. Mm-hmm. But I wish the shooting was the only problem with this game. Especially when you look at screenshots, like, oh man, when you see like bad textures on characters that you're talking to, or textures not loading in properly.
The melting face or the Picasso face is never good on a game.
Yeah, it's just such a fucking bummer. Okay, so since we're playing right now, the only other things that I've been playing is Ghost of Tsushima, still going along with that very slowly. The combat's fun. Like, the combat, if you just what I've been doing with Ghost is, like, if I have 20 minutes, I'll throw Ghost on and do like a side quest or run around. But I don't know if I'll reach the finish line. But I guess that now depends on like if I torture myself through Cyberpunk anymore.
Do you want to play an open world game that doesn't interest you, or do you want to play an open buggy world game? That's your 2 decisions you have
exactly,
right now.
Yeah. So hey, Ghost. Haven't had any bugs really. Yeah. Like, that has been really consistent. That
just
world
don't care
works.
about the story. Cyberpunk, I'm kind of really interested in the story, but they're telling it really bad. But I can't play it because it's buggy as hell.
Yeah. It's like
Back
Cyberpunk still has. Yeah, that's what this is gonna end up in. No, you know what it is I signed up for GameFly last week and got NBA 2K, and I ended up playing NBA 2K21 way more than I thought I was going to play it, just because I was just like, well, I'm not going to fucking load up Cyberpunk right now. Like, and I've just been playing the basketball game. Yeah. Hey, that looks good. 2K21, that's a good looking game, but there's not much to say about it other than, like, it works.
It's basketball, it's functional, it looks pretty.
I hate that it has a pop-up advertisement every time I play the game telling me to buy new decks of cards or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like, I can't get rid of that notification, but other than that, it works. So really that's all I've been playing is just Cyberpunk, Ghost, and then NBA 2K21, and haven't really watched anything new, just still going through The Crown.
Nice.
We're on season 3, I think now. So just my usual watching. What about you, Dave?
So yeah, I mean, like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, 6-day work week, so not a whole lot of time to mess around with some stuff. However, I've been spending a lot more time in my car because my commute got longer. And Ready Player 2, which is a sequel to Ernest Cline's book for Ready Player 1. It came out in November. Interesting title concepts there.
That cracked me up when I fucking announced the sequel and it was Ready Player 2. I'm like, of course it was Ready Player 2.
I am enjoying it, but it's not as good as the first one. which is pretty common, par for the course. I think when you write something really cool and it does really well, and people are like, so when am I going to hear more about it? Like, oh, I wasn't really planning on it, but at the same time, I think I could just make a sequel and sell. Even if I sell 50% of what I sold, I'll be fine. I am listening to the audio book, which is narrated by Will Wheaton. So that's the same guy that did the first one, and he does a fantastic job. And I am, and overall enjoying it. I think that they spent a little bit too much time in the Lord of the Rings aspect of the game, as well as the Prince aspect of the book. I'm sorry, not the game, the book, which they're kind of playing a game. And but it's a cool continuation of the story, and kind of develops more of the character base that you're looking for to see. As I was saying, I'm not enjoying the second one as much as the first one. I would kind of be interested to see where the story sort of goes. I'm almost done. I think today I got like half an hour left or 45 minutes left of it. So, but it's definitely, if you like the first one, this is a continuation, like I said, of all the characters. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Ready Player One is a very, very good book, a subpar to decent movie, and a really, really good audiobook, because I don't enjoy reading. So, and then Destiny 2's next gen upgrade came out, and on consoles we got the field of view slider, 120 hertz, Crucible mode available, and then there is just overall 4K support, and just an overall shine and finesse to the game. I had to re-download the whole thing on Xbox, or I'm sorry, I had to re-download the entire game again on PlayStation. Had to go into the store and tell it to download the PS5 version, and then I had
to patch that.
I have at one point in time I had the PS5 and the PS4 version on my PS5. And its counterpart Xbox just updated my game and replaced it by itself.
I know, they sent you an app notification, right? Like,
yep.
They're like, hey, we're going to do this. I hope you're okay with it,
yep.
Which is so nice, so convenient.
And that worked. And then Saturday has pretty much been, like 2 weeks ago Saturday, I played Immortals for a long time. And then this Saturday when I was off, I decided to dive into Destiny a little bit. I did the raid, which was fun. I didn't get a chance to finish it, but got, relatively far in it. It's a pretty cool skybox that they're building, and a cool environment that they built in the raid. Their raids are always solid. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to take the PlayStation 5 upstairs and the new TV that I have, and check out HDR and 4K Destiny, because my Series S can do 1080p. And then currently right now I don't want to bring my PS5 back downstairs.
Yeah.
I am looking at possible options, because I have a decent computer monitor, but it's a 1080p 1440 hertz monitor, but it's not 4K and it's not HDR. And Destiny looked really good, and so I would
send you a recommendation. I have a 1080p HDR monitor I'm using right now. Fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't really know if I can buy any more tech.
Let's do it.
But overall, I'm really enjoying it. So I actually do want to try to tinker this week with the remote play app for PS5 on my PC, and see what that's like down here from streaming, from a streaming standpoint. But it has been very nice the last couple of weeks. I don't mind playing at my desk, streaming. I love streaming. I love communicating with you guys. But there is something to be said for just putting on some wireless headphones and kicking the chair back, or putting my feet on the ottoman and just playing. And part of the reason that did that as well is that my Turtle Beach contact for PR sent me the Stealth 700 Gen 2 versions for PlayStation, as well, with the dongle. And if for $150, I talked about the Gen 2 Stealth 700 Gen 2 for Xbox. These are identical headphones. Actually, the ones they sent me are the same color, so I'm gonna have a hard time telling them apart. I'm gonna have like a sticker on one of them or something. But for $150 for the 700s versus the 600s, which are $100, I definitely recommend you either save up or just spend the extra $50. The ear cups are great. The 3D audio surround movement was fantastic. The connectivity is easy. I love them. So like I'll try to tweet out some pictures this week if somebody doesn't know what to get you for Christmas, and you can get your hands on these, whether you have an Xbox or a PlayStation, and you can get your hands on these Stealth 700 Gen 2s. Make sure they're Gen 2s. I would say to get them. So PlayStation still uses the dongle. Xbox just connects via Bluetooth. Novel concept. So those I'm both very impressed with. Yep. So like, that was for the most part. That's kind of just what my Saturday was spent playing Destiny. Still watching Mandalorian. Enjoying that. My wife really likes Baby Yoda, and she ruined a Christmas gift of mine because she just decided to go into one of my other stores and buy herself a gift, or buy herself something that I was going to get her that was Baby Yoda related. So I'm digging on her a little bit for that.
The puppet?
No, it's like drinking glasses, just like tumblers. So
okay. I haven't seen the puppet going. People buying the Baby Yoda hand puppet.
Like, no, yeah, I don't know what my 40-year-old wife would do with a Baby Yoda hand puppet. So.
You have a kid.
Yeah, so for the most part, that's been what's been going on. It seems like just talking to my son, he's really enjoying playing 2K like you. He's playing it on the Series S, and the Madden Next Gen upgrade seems to be pretty well for him as well. He's been pretty happy with that. I haven't had a chance to see him play any Madden or check it out to see what it looks like, but he's definitely doesn't seem to be irritated by it. So. All right, so we didn't really get any questions this week, which is okay because we're already running long because we, with the Game Award recap and the Project Red issues. So if you do come up with a question over the next, over the holidays or anything like that, just go ahead and just tweet it at us or put it in the Facebook group. #AskDigitalDays, and we will, definitely add it to the note. Scheduling plans for going over the holiday break is that you'll get like we talked about, you'll get our Game of the Year episode and our 2021 preview episode, as well as our December Patreon episode. Our goal is to kind of record those before December 20th, so that we can kind of have the 20th till the 5th of January off. Just so everybody can enjoy their holidays. So if you do have if you're listening to this on the live stream, or if you're listening, within the first couple of days of release, and you have questions for year in review or year in preview, please just send them to us. Email them to podcast@digitaldaysgaming.com. Tweet at us @digitalDaysPod. Post them in the Facebook group. Post them in the Discord channel. Any of those places, we'll see them, and we'll add them to our agendas and our documents. But other than that, again, we still have the patreon.com/digitaldaysgaming, where if you guys are maybe thinking about something for the new year and you want to show us some support, that'd be super appreciative. As always, we're looking for feedback to it of where, if you've looked at our Patreon and you don't feel like you want to support it, you don't feel like it's worth supporting us, that's fine. I would love to hear some feedback of maybe why you feel that way. You can send that again to podcast@digitaldaysgaming.com, and maybe we can look into tweaking, evaluating Patreon again in 2021. But for those of you that already are supporting us that way, thank you so much. For those of you again that have been supporting us on Twitch, thank you. And if you have bought a T-shirt, a hoodie, again, thank you. And if you have just given us a PayPal donation, thank you. You guys have made 2021, as crazy of a year as it's been, tolerable. With all the next gen stuff coming out and games coming out, and it's just nice to have the safety net that you guys are providing for us as a community, for us to be able to continue our passion project of this. So we appreciate that. I am aware that it is still 2020.
But it's because you said 2021's been rough. No, Dave, we're still in 2020.
So, but
I was gonna say before you wrap up, since we are doing a Game of the Year, please send us your email for what you think is Game of the Year, why you think The Last of Us isn't our Game of the Year, or whatever opinion you have about it. Just send us and we'll read it on the show, and then also your most anticipated stuff. So just send some emails.
What was your Game of the Year? Why? What are you most looking forward to? Why?
Yeah. And, we'll try and include that on the show next week.
All right. I hope everyone has a great week. Keep moving forward.
See ya. Don't be a dick.